Alright, it's the smack talker, backbreaker, piss taker, money shaker, the one for who your girl's never a faker. Yeah, it's the Hawk. That's probably the happiest I'll be for this entire video. Because today, it's essentially my tribute to the life of Psycho Sid, who recently passed away at the age of 63 from cancer. To me, Sid truly is the man, and with every year that passes, I appreciate this man's work more and more. He is a true example of what is missing from wrestling nowadays. A scary as hell man who is intense, believable, and an honest to God star. Yeah, he couldn't do flips, but his character was larger than life. Sid was somebody who bounced between the WWF and WCW a lot. In fact, so much it would make your head spin. And that is because to Sid, wrestling was just a job, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's far too many dorks in this world already. I had planned on making a story type video, but thanks to a YouTube comment suggestion from Nick Franca, he showed me that Sid does actually qualify for Ring of the Hawk. It's the show where we watch back a wrestler's short run with a company, and at the end we shove them a final grade to see if they could do the JOB to the HAWK. And of course, if you know a wrestler who could do the JOB, shove their name down in the comments, Jack! Alright, it's Sid Justice. Put him in the Hall of Fame or we're gonna cause a ruckus. Sid was still quite green at this time. He was only about 4 years into his career, although he did have a short run in the WCW as a skyscraper and he was in the Four Horsemen. When his contract came up, the WWF came calling in 1991. Match 1, Kato, who makes the girls say no, takes on Sid Justice. Great ovation for Sid on his Ring of the Hawk debut. He keeps screaming powerbomb on the way to the ring. This one doesn't really go long. Sid hits a big jumping shoulder tackle in the corner and completely manhandles the Kato man. He crushes him with a one-arm chokeslam, but this match isn't over yet. Kato is sent out of the ring where Sid drops him on the crowd barrier. He brings Kato back to the ring where he hits a kick to the gut, which is the setup for the powerbomb, and that's all she wrote. I enjoyed the intensity and the crowd were really into it. Definitely an intriguing debut, it's a B. Match 2, Big Bully Busick. Man, now that is a mustache. He's a man that Sid knew from the gym, and he got him his job. Sid got a few people the jobs in wrestling like Harlem Heat. Well, his job doesn't last long as Sid quickly hits a chokeslam and a powerbomb. Not much to say, it's a D. Match 3, The Undertaker vs Sid Justice. Seems a bit early and sudden to have a match like this out of nowhere. But as it turns out, this doesn't seem to be much of a match, but it is in the history books as one. Sid is supposed to be facing a masked moron, but Paul Bearer pays him off so Undertaker can take his place. There is no fear from Sid. These two massive men square up and they're almost the same size. They both try to choke each other out. Suddenly the masked moron reappears and it's Jake the Snake Roberts. He chokes out Sid with the Undertaker occasionally joining in. This beating goes on for a while with Jake hitting a DDT. Sid is all tied up in the ropes and he almost gets a snake bite before Hacksaw Jim Duggan saves Sid. Sid is enraged, but doesn't get back in the ring for some reason. I guess Sid has zero fear, except when it comes to snakes. It's an S, not really anything positive to say here. Match 4, The Iron Sheik. Why is my man marching like that? And he takes on Sid Justice. The crowd desperately stand up to see him. Sheiky jumps Sid from behind, who doesn't seem to be hurt. Within seconds, Sid kicks him in the gut and hits the powerbomb for the 3. But Sid is a bad winner, and he also powerbombs the other military maggot. Wish it had gone a bit longer. At least his powerbomb looks devastating. It's a C. Match 5, Royal Rumble 1992 for the vacant WWF title. Sid gets a favourable draw, entering second last. He goes straight at IRS with kicks to the gut. Like a dumbass, Sid thinks he's eliminated him. Sid is truly looking larger than life in there. He fights with the Nature Boy next. Flair attempts a knockdown, but Sid kips back up and clotheslines him. Out of nowhere, Justice gets his first elimination when he Irish whips Sergeant Slaughter. Moments later, Sid works with the Hulkster to eliminate the Warlord. He isn't finished here though and manages a double elimination of Roddy Piper and Rick Martel. Wow, this is impressive. Wow, shocker. The Hulkster is eliminated and he's enraged. He thought Sid was his friend. He starts wrenching on Sid's arm from the outside, which allows Flair to throw out Sid. What a bunch of rubbish, Hogan screwed Sid. This was almost Sid's night, a bunch of eliminations on high profile stars. It's only taken 5 matches to make him a believable main event star. It's an A from the Hawk. Looks like we're going to be getting a Sid versus Hogan feud now. Sid getting cheered over the Hulkster looks like it really offends the Hulk. It didn't offend me, I enjoyed it. Match 6, Mike Casey versus Sid Justice. Sid has so much intensity that his nappy must be filled 24/7. It doesn't take long for him to hit a one-arm chokeslam. He toys with the crowd for a moment before hitting a running boot which sends Mike Casey flying like the Hawk. On the outside, Sid picks him up and presses him back into the ring over the top rope. Sid picks him up and hits a crazy spinning throw. This crowd is coming unglued for Sid. He motions that he's doing the powerbomb for a bit before finally giving the crowd what they want to see. Sid is very good at these squash matches because despite the short matches you still feel like you got your money's worth as he's so full of life and energy and you almost come away feeling like it was more than a squash match. It's a C. Match 7, Sid Justice vs the Brooklyn Brawler. Sid quickly shoves him into the corner and does the chokeslam on the rebound. Sid starts ripping at the Brawler's top, which isn't going to help for a man who already has holes in his shirt. Sid spends a while choking the Brawler. Justice gorms out the crowd for a while before hitting the powerbomb and it's over. If it wasn't for the energy he brings, this would be very boring. Fortunately, it's not. It's a D. Match 8, the Mountie vs Sid Justice. Sid hits a chokeslam in record time in this match. He ain't done and he beats the Mountie up around the ring for a while. He brings him back to the ring with a clothesline. Mountie actually does manage to fight back when Sid lowers his head too early and he gets thrown into the mat. Unfortunately, he isn't in a hurry to do anything else. Then, randomly, he hits a pile driver which Sid completely no-sells. He grits his teeth with anger and dumps in his blue nappy of rage. The Mountie begs for his life, which won't help him as Sid powerbombs him into the mat for the free. Sid is the clear winner, and it's nice to see these matches get slowly more involved. It's a C. Match 9, tag match, The Undertaker and Ric Flair. Wow, you couldn't get a more contrasting tag team. They take on Sid Justice and the Hulkster, Hogan, who are partners who don't get on. Sid looks bemused by all of Hogan's antics. They argue over who's going to start this one, and Sid wins that argument, which I didn't expect. Flair is scared of Sid, but then he grabs his eyelash. Sid reverses an Irish whip and hits a one-arm back body drop and a hip toss. Flair dumps in his nappy of fear and bails from the ring. Sid tags out. Sid gets back in again against Taker. Hogan spends most of this match looking a mixture of confused and impressed. Sid reverses a slam and hits one of his own. Hogan and Sid are actually working well together so far. The match does eventually turn when Taker and Flair hit a double clothesline. The double teaming continues with an atomic drop which gets Taker a 2. Hogan can't watch a third one and has to break up the double teaming. Sid and Hogan do some double team with a big boot to Flair and they clothesline Taker from the ring. Really fun match so far. Taker comes back with uppercuts and tags the Nature Boy. Lots of good teamwork here. Flair helps Taker hit a diving punch when out of nowhere Justice wakes up and stops another double team with a meeting of the minds. Hogan has the tag. He's isolated for a while when Sid randomly decides to turn on Hogan and not make much effort to get the tag. The crowd loudly boo at this. Sid looks in complete shock as Hogan beats them up all on his own. Hogan still has to crawl towards Sid for the tag, but he jumps off the apron. He takes a walk and leaves the match. And in case you are wondering, this match is thrown out for DQ. Very enjoyable and I love Sid's facial expressions. He actually did do some decent work with Hogan, although I'm not sure it's the right time to turn him heel when the crowd seem to love Sid. It's a C from the Hawk. Match 10, Sid Justice vs Hercules. I can't really find the proper match footage, so this is the best we can do. This one's interesting because Hercules was on his way out of the company, so when Sid hit him with the powerbomb after just 20 seconds, Hercules got straight back up after the 3 count as he was off to WCW. Nothing to say, it's an S. Match 11, 20-man Battle Royal. As it turns out, this is the second longest match of Sid's run. He's looking incredibly mean here. There are some decent names in this one. Unfortunately, this seems to be Hogan's match as he's the main person doing the eliminations. I was starting to think Sid wouldn't eliminate a single person until he manages to clothesline Roddy Piper out. Sid does randomly hit a middle rope double axe in this one, but overall it's a slow plodding affair. It looks like the Bulldog is going to eliminate Sid when out of the blue he manages to turn it around for his second elimination. The final 3 are Sid, Justice, Hogan and the Big Boss Man. Sid quickly throws the Boss Man out and appropriately we're down to Sid and the Hulkster. The crowd are extremely excited to see this. Justice towers over the Hulkster. He tries to motion to the crowd to shut up, but they won't. Strangely, we get a ref bump in the closing stages as the ref is determined to break up the 10 punches in the corner, and then Sid smacks him one. The ref makes it back to his feet, so Justice hurls him into the turnbuckles. This is another ref bump. Hogan throws Sid out the ring, but there's no ref. Sid climbs back in with a handbag and smacks out the Hulkster. Sid rolls Hogan under the bottom rope and he revives the referee. For some reason, the referee just takes Sid's word for it and raises his arm in victory. How would the ref know Hogan didn't just go under the bottom rope, which is what he actually did? Hulkster and the crowd are incensed, but the result stands. It's a C, it was fine, he won, but he didn't really dominate like I'd hoped for. Match 12, Ed Robinson versus Sid, who's got a new manager in Harvey Whippleman, another man he helped get his job in the company. The heel turn doesn't seem to be helping as Sid hits a very ugly chokeslam. Fortunately, the powerbomb isn't ugly, but there wasn't much to this squash match. Sid just looks miserable now, it's an S. Actually, the jobber is stretchered away and Sid clotheslines him off the stretcher, so now it's a D for trying to get over as a heel. Match 13, Sid Justice. They're trying to get over this line that Sid Justice rules the world. He's scheduled to face Mickey J, who makes the ladies spray. I thought he was a referee. But first, Sid has something to say. He has some screwed up scraps of paper which is apparently fan mail. One fan is very upset about Sid's treatment of Hogan. Sid reads it whilst doing fake crying. Man, Sid is great. Sid quickly launches the jobber out of the ring. This man might have one of the worst wrestlers' physiques I've ever seen. Sid brings him back to the ring and hits the powerbomb for the 3. Sid Justice is also a bad loser and boots him on a stretcher. Not much of a match, but very heavy on character work, which was needed. Very enjoyable. It's a B. Match 14, Dale Wolf, the future Doink the Clown versus Sid Justice. Sid is so intense here, he just doesn't give a damn. He randomly hits Wolf with a chair, but isn't DQ'd. Everybody is terrified of Sid Justice. He gets the jobber in the ring and hits a spinebuster. He isn't in much of a rush here. He slowly hits a laughing powerbomb. He feels more like his Psycho Sid character at this point. Once again, Sid attacks the loser on the stretcher, accompanied by making him wear Hogan's bandana. This time it's different, as some jobbers run out to save the jobber. Virgil gets the worst of that and somehow ends up with a broken nose. The intensity is off the charts and it feels like Sid has all the momentum going into Wrestlemania. It's a B from the Hawk. Never seen somebody get so much out of a squash match. Match 15, Dennis Bunt, who looks like a... versus Sid Justice. Yeah, this jobber doesn't stand a chance. Sid hits him with a spinebuster whilst making me genuinely scared for this jobber. The ruler of the world punts him in the ribs whilst the crowd chant for Hogan. Why aren't they chanting Bunt? Sid hits the powerbomb and that's the 3. He also stretches the jobber and turns him into Hogan. This time he takes it further as he shoves the stretcher down the aisle and it smacks into the ring pole. That was pretty funny, it's a D. Match 16, tag match. Sid Justice teams up with Ric Flair to take on Roddy Piper and the Hulkster. Sid seems very happy to see the Nature Boy. The bell rings, but they spend minutes just staring holes into each other. Eventually it starts, but Sid doesn't. Somehow Sid is barely involved for most of this match. Flair eventually does get scared of Hogan and tags in Sid. Sid takes a cheap shot to get the advantage. He keeps throwing knees and clubbing on the Hulkster. He slams Hogan, but isn't in a rush to capitalise. The crowd wake Hogan up, he throws punches and a clothesline in the corner. Sid cuts him off and clubs him in the back again. So far these two have very boring chemistry. Piper makes the blind tag and tells Sid to turn around, which he does, and Hogan slams him. Roddy Piper traps him in a head scissors, and Sid quickly kips out of it and smacks Piper down. The commentary are very impressed by this. Justice misses his middle rope axe handle and catches a smack to the gut. Sid still manages to tag Flair in though. The ref ends up getting distracted and Sid whacks Piper with a steel chair. I don't know why the ref had to be distracted, Sid has gotten away with using a chair several times in this video. Speaking of that, after the ref is distracted again, Sid breaks up a Hogan pin with one of the weakest chair shots of all time. That somehow helps Flair get a 2 count. Hogan wins this match eventually with his axe bomber clothesline to Flair. Sid is too slow to break it up. A really long, boring affair which I'd rather not ever watch again. It's an S. Match 17, 2-on-1 handicap match. Sid Justice, who looks to be in insane shape here, versus Mike Casey, who makes the girls go crazy. And no job Rob Van Dam. I bet he wasn't happy when he found out about this match. Mike Casey is quickly chokeslammed and easily kicks out of the ring. Rob comes in and catches a clothesline which turns him inside out. Sid picks RVD up and hits the whirly bird move from earlier in this video and been missing that one. He punts RVD out of the ring and turns his attention back to Casey, dropping him across the guardrail. RVD is sent back into the ring while Sid walks around gritting his teeth with happiness. He also sends Casey back into the ring. RVD is powerbombed into the mat and Casey gets one too, and Sid makes a double pin for the 3. What a fun squash match that was. Sid looked scary and intense the whole way through and he looked like a beast. Even more so when he punts RVD off the stretcher and press slams the other out of the ring onto the stretcher. It's an A for this squash match. Just so we're clear, squash matches have to be graded a bit differently because they take up the majority of any run from an early 90s superstar. Match 18. Let's get this one out of the way. WrestleMania 8 World Heavyweight Title Match. Sid Justice the challenger. The Comrades team have actually started referring to him as Psycho Sid at this point. He takes on the champion, the immortal Hulk Hogan. Sid actually jumps in before the bell, but it's a complete fail as Hogan batters him out of the ring whilst the Hulkster's wacky music keeps playing. Hogan clotheslines Justice on the apron and celebrates like the match is already over. Well, it certainly feels like it is here. The bell does actually ring after a while, with Sid gritting his teeth and dumping in his nappy all the way back to the ring. Sid tries to mess up the Hulkster's perfectly manicured face and he pulls scary faces. Hulkster quickly comes back with the punches, which once again knocks Sid out of the ring. He returns to the ring but has completely lost the plot. This match seems to be 90% posturing to the crowd. Hogan and Sid have a test of strength and this goes on for a while. They both stop and look around like morons. It seems like they're barely even trying here. Hogan makes it up and clotheslines Sid in the corner. Unfortunately for him, Sid's manager causes a distraction which allows Sid to hit the chokeslam. Sid's too busy celebrating to make a pin. He even has time to spray advice into the camera. It's now Sid's turn to knock Hogan out of the ring. Sid starts whacking him with a handbag. He brings Hogan back to the ring only to apply a nerve hold. Well, this match is starting to get on my nerves. Hogan tries to fight out the hold, but Sid counters it with a side slam. Still no pin. Sid looks for the powerbomb and he hits a slightly wacky looking one. Of course, Hogan kicks out at 2 because he's Hogan. This somehow causes Hogan to hulk up. He pinballs Sid around the ring and hits the big boot. Sid hasn't gone down, so Hogan slams him. Hulk does hit the leg drop now. The ref gets to count to 2 before Harvey Whippleman climbs in the ring. Randomly, the referee just throws the match out straight away, even though basically nothing had happened. Sid and Papa Shango start beating up on Hogan. Then the Ultimate Warrior makes his return and he takes out Sid and Shango. This match wasn't as bad as people will say it was. It just wasn't WrestleMania main event worthy. Sid did a great job as a believable psychopath and that he could be a threat to Hulkamania. I don't know, a C. This was never going to be an incredible match, but the character work was great. Match 19, Sid Justice versus Ron Come on a Ledge. Sid isn't messing about here. He drops good old Ron like a bad habit. Whippleman takes the ref so Sid can use his favourite chair again. I'm not sure why he even requires it in these squash matches. The powerbomb of course ends it. I don't know why he's still trying to do the stretcher gimmick. This time he drops it on the jobber. It all felt a bit pointless at this time and this was the first time I didn't feel any energy to his performance. It's an S. Match 20, final match, UK Rampage 1992, Sid Justice versus The Undertaker. It's the battle of the skyscrapers, I guess. The dead man seems like he might have a power advantage, but then he misses his elbow drop. Sid tries to crush him against the ropes, but how can you kill what is already dead? Taker cutters him across the ropes, comes back to ring with an old school. He also hits the diving clothesline. Sid is somehow still okay and he hits a chokeslam accompanied by some shoddy camel work. Sid hits the side slam now, but as you can see, by a common trend in this run, is Sid does not like to make pins. Instead, he just sort of shoves the Taker's face into the mat. Taker comes back with punches and Sid actually tries to run away like a little girl. Sid climbs back in the ring instead and Taker slowly limps around on the outside. Then the ref just rings the bell and raises Sid's arm. Sid then starts hitting the Undertaker with a steel chair. Randomly in his final match, he also hits a neck breaker. The ref again raises Sid's arm. So has he won then? Yeah, it's announced that Sid has beaten The Undertaker by countout. But Taker gets the last laugh when he hits a tombstone to Sid. That match was weird and not great. It's a D, game over. Sid ended up quitting the WWF because he hated the Ultimate Warrior and didn't want to feud with him as he found him hard to deal with. As I said, it was just a job to Sid and he didn't want to deal with that sort of thing in his employment. It was back to WCW, which was fine with Sid because he was used to jumping around companies. Well, that was a bit of a nothing run, really. The only thing I got out of it was the genesis of the Psycho Sid character. I enjoyed when he talked, when he played with the crowd, when he looked into the camera, but the wrestling was just not great. There wasn't really a standout match. It would have been interesting to see him feud with someone a bit smaller. Most of this run was just spent building Sid up for the WrestleMania match with Hogan, and then it was over. It felt like a bit of a waste of time. So we've got to shove Sid a final grade for Ring of the Hawk Season 5. It's tough because he had star power, he had charisma, but there wasn't really anything here to write home about. So I'm going to shove Sid Justice a final grade of a high D. I just can't justify much more, and if you don't agree with that, I'll treat your girl like a whore.